The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
The summer of 2015 at 10.
Hello again, and welcome to the Brandon Peters Show as we continue the summer of 2015 at 10. A look back at the movies from that summer and the pop culture that surrounded them. Joining me, as always, from Puck News and The Outside Scoop, which this week is the Joyful Sweet Sundae, which includes 3 scoops of ice cream, 5 toppings, whipped cream, and a cherry served in a take-home souvenir cup of Inside Out, Scott Mendelson.
I'm gonna have to take a crap just thinking about that.
That's a real thing offered at Disney. Scott's crap included. And from We Live Entertainment, out now with Aaron and Abe, and to Black Guys Talk Godzilla. He's from the summer we talked in the 90s, so you know his thoughts on these movies is dope, but he could still mangle them up. Aaron Neuwirth.
I'm glad to be here, zooming on this podcast.
Oh,
When's
just
episode 3 dropping, by the way? I keep waiting.
Tomorrow. Well, as we're recording, Scott's referring to the Godzilla King of Monsters episode that will drop on April 11th.
Our schedule couldn't be clearer, honestly. Like, it's
Scott
very easy.
I saw like a Facebook ad, like, "Oh, there's another one. I have a long car trip," and then I checked and it wasn't there, and I was sad.
Well, when the listeners hear this, Scott will have heard that episode.
One hopes.
One hopes.
I like how you said I saw a thing, and like most of our things are like tomorrow, like to be very specific, or this week. It's coming.
Don't make fun of your fans, Aaron. You need your fans to survive.
There you go. This episode will discuss the films releasing June 19th through 21 of 2015, and I want to remind you, the next summer of is up to you, and you got to let us know however you can. See Aaron's finger? See Scott's finger? That's how we do it. Pick a year. Anything from that we haven't done from 1980 all the way to, let's say, 2009. Okay?
Oh, fuck that. 1899. Let's do it.
Yes.
George
Lester
Murray
Keaton getting up all in this business. I have no idea if that's
there we
accurate
go.
or not.
But
20 episodes of us talking about the train coming out the screen.
Right. When you watch it the 18th time, it really comes back around.
It's like that grown-ups podcast.
Yes. But if you listen to us talk Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom on Out Now with Aaron and Abe, we heavily said yes to that. 89's a pretty good year.
Pretty good year.
89's a pretty good year.
Pretty good.
Sweet Jesus, let us talk about 1989.
Not to influence this at all, but 89's a pretty good year.
94 is pretty awesome too.
Yeah. Maybe we just ignore your votes and pick what we want.
Can we do 89 but like skip the middle week of June?
Because it's already covered everywhere from us. Like, well, it might be that time.
Ghostbusters 2. We have to talk Ghostbusters 2, Aaron.
Yeah. Scott, what do we talked Batman just a couple years ago on the Burton retrospective, but it might be time again.
We've got a commentary from
it. We talked about
Scott's
it before.
on the fucking 4K.
Scott's on the 4. Yeah, we what was it? We did the oh gosh, I feel like we need to do an updated version of that episode. Get everybody back. It was the HHWLOD network, and they did like our 20 favorite films of all time, where Scott unleashed his Shanghai Nights on us. But we should update that. We should do an update.
I'd be happy to update that.
See if Maxwell wants to see if Maxwell. I think it was us three, Abe, and Maxwell, right? I think that's.
I believe it's something along those lines, and I'd be happy to. Yeah, because we had the Ichabod Crane cast going at the time.
Without looking at what we did before and see what it is now. It's like a good 13 years later, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's already done. Maybe when this episode drops, we've already.
Because I have my letterbox. I move things around constantly.
Gotcha.
Some kind of like Inception shit here, where by the time they listen to it, it's already done.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
That's the fun thing about doing this podcast right now. Like, we're recording this in April. We started this in January. I get to wear like spring colors finally because it's like warm outside.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, my head's like, I got to talk about 2 Black Guys Talk Godzilla, which drops 2 weeks. And I'm like, where are we going to be when we do certain episodes where we like actually say things correctly?
I'm looking when I talk at the end about plugging myself. I'm like, what am I doing a convention this weekend? Which one is it? Is that
Yeah.
my? Because I should be plugging that because I didn't last year, and I'm like, oh shit. Because I did Days of the Dead last year. I didn't say a damn thing about it here on Summer Up. So, woo, it's some fun stuff we got going on here. So
What's going on in the news?
let's talk about the news.
It's been a long day without news, my friend. I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Well, we're back with breaking news, and in the past few minutes we have learned abolitionist Harriet Tubman will replace Andrew Jackson on the face of the $20 bill. New York City First Lady Charlene McRae already on board. She tweeted a mock-up image of the bill. Earlier, there was talk about putting a woman on the $10 bill and replacing Alexander Hamilton. But the popularity of the Broadway show Hamilton may have derailed those plans.
All right. On June 15th, it was the 800-year anniversary of the birthplace of modern democracy, the signing of the Magna Carta by King John at Runnymede, England.
12:15.
Happy Magna Carta Day! Magna Carta Day. Magna Carta Day.
Magna Carta.
Boom, 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 boom.
MCD.
And in celebration of the Magna Carta Day,
Yes, go on.
Governor of Florida, Jeb Bush, announces he will run for the presidency of the United States.
How'd that go?
Oh,
Please
you know,
clap.
it's kind of happy to not have a Bush win, but yeah, please clap. Yeah.
I feel like, in hindsight,
In hindsight,
that might have been the best version of that.
we should have clapped.
There's a lot of it in hindsight. There's so much fucking in hindsight.
Yeah.
But the worst
This
thing
is a
about Bush would
big
be like,
scheme
he's
to
just so
make Ted
boring.
Cruz look
Like,
electable. Ha, ha, ha.
And talking about Jeb Bush packed his bags early on and said, fuck this. Like he did. Before he got completely, yeah. But I don't recall Jeb Bush like bending the knee and kissing the ring at all, Eddie. No.
To my knowledge.
None of the
Not as
Bushes
severely as
none of the
the
Bushes
others.
had. Yeah. Also that day, the remains of a 2,000-year-old woman dubbed the Sleeping Beauty are announced discovered in northern Ethiopia from the ancient kingdom of Aksum.
Is
Who
she
kissed her
still
to wake her up?
It was Jeb Bush.
hot?
Okay. Here's one for you guys. On June 16th, TV personality and real estate mogul Donald Trump launches his campaign for the Republican nomination for the United States president at Trump Towers.
Comes down that elevator escalator.
I mean, going against the sibling and seed of a former U.S. president's, that's tough goings, but
It's one wacky game show.
maybe it'll happen. It's a dark day.
Fun fact.
Fun?
He, well, no, none of this is fun anymore. But fun fact at the time, he apparently, and I have to double check if this is true, but I think it was, he paid people to show up. He paid them $50 to be in attendance. Which
He
at the time
still
was, like,
was doing that through
well,
his.
yeah, like at the time it was like, who gives a fuck? That's the kind of stupid shit he'll do anyway. It's not like he's gonna win.
It was a joke then. Like it was
Yeah.
we all like, oh, this ridiculous and he's still around, and then it was like, oh my god.
What's the next bullet point here?
Next bullet point. Moving on. June 17th. Oh,
Who else is running now?
9
Rick
people are
Perry.
no. The next day, 9 people are shot and killed inside Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, by a 21-year-old gunman. I
Yeah,
remember
remember
this
that.
one. Yep. This was part of the time we were going through where we didn't know where the fuck it would be. It was safe to be anywhere in the world.
It's a good thing 10 years later we put all those gun reform bills into passing.
It's great. Got rid of them all. Same
Smash
day.
that subscribe button.
Yeah, fuck. June 17th, U.S. Treasury announced that the image of Alexander Hamilton will be replaced from the United States $10 bill by an image of a woman. That woman would eventually be Harriet Tubman.
Well, that's some racism.
When everyone just said, you know what? Yes, and slightly clapped. That was a real game changer in American politics.
Yes. Can you imagine if they made that announcement tomorrow that it would be Harriet Tubman replacing Alexander Hamilton? Hamilton. They took their shot. On June 18th, vigilantes are killed and 53 are injured after an accidental detonation of an explosive device in Manguno, Nigeria.
I guess they weren't wearing hockey pads.
They were wearing hockey pads. Violent week here. June 18th, Pope Francis blames human selfishness for global warming in his encyclical named Laudato Si, which means be praised, on the care of our common home.
What was that phrase again?
Laudato Si.
Is that what he says in The Day the Pope Stood Still?
I don't. Be praised. What it means. But
that's an A+ joke.
Yeah.
All right.
Took me a minute.
Ooh. You know, sometimes since the 80s one, like we get a week of news that's just like, oh. And here we go, June 19th, American actress Shannon Doherty reveals that she has breast cancer. She has since passed away from said.
Hey.
Whew. All right. June 20th. 1,000 humanoid robots named Pepper sell out in under a minute at $1,600 each in Japan, according to its creator, SoftBank Robotics Corp.
They should have stuck to their principles.
Just so you know, they were all modeled after Sergeant J.W. Pepper from the James Bond movies.
Never mind.
Hey, Pepper. Yes, Jimbo.
That same day, a heat wave peaks in southern Pakistan, goes on to kill about 2,000 people from dehydration and heat stroke.
Fucking Christ.
Jeez, was God holding up a magnifying glass?
Hold on. The next June 21st, 94 people die and 45 are hospitalized after drinking moonshine in Mumbai, India.
Oh, must have went to 4 X's.
How was Donald Trump the least awful thing that happened this week?
Let's be clear. That's not the lead.
That's a long game.
Short term though.
Wait till COVID happens. He'll have enough deaths on his hands. On June 21st, hackers ground 1,400 passengers by attacking IT systems at Warsaw Chopin Airport in Poland.
Airplane then explodes. Wait, what? Hold on.
We'll end on a better note here for Aaron. June 21st, the U.S. Opens men's golf chambers, Bay GC. Jordan Spieth at 21 becomes the youngest winner since 1923 by one shot from Dustin Johnson and Lewis. Is it Oosthuizen?
Heath. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
There you go. All right.
But then he never returned home.
As if we haven't talked enough death this week, here are higher profile deaths. Jean Dore, the 39th mayor of Montreal, passed away. Kirk Kerkorian, American CEO and father of the Mega Resort. Might Sam McLean, a soul and blues singer-songwriter. Mighty Sam McLean, sorry. Soul and blues songwriter. John David Crow, College Football Hall of Fame and Heisman winner and NFL Pro Bowler. Suleiman Demirel, a Turkish president and prime minister. Nazar Singh, believed to be Europe's oldest man. He dies at 111.
Hmm.
And Ralph J. Roberts, the founder of Comcast. And
Well,
then,
you live to see MacGruber.
our wedding this week, Dancing with the Stars pro dancer Lindsay Arnold weds high school sweetheart Samuel Leitner Cusick in Salt Lake City. I feel like we've had another Dancing with the Stars person get married too. So,
Hey, I'm glad they're happy.
Celebrities.
and you know what?
What?
I
No.
don't need to come up with some clever segue for our first film. The vibe of the news section is
Do it
enough.
anyway.
The vibe of the news segment here
You
today
fucking coward.
perfectly leads us into 3.5 minutes, 10 bullets, which plays in one theater.
Fire rescue. We had shots fired in the parking lot.
I said, what happened to Jordan?
I was scared for my life, and you guys are seeing this as murder.
Was there music playing in the car?
Yes.
What type of music was playing?
Rap.
Did the defendant say anything about the music?
I hate that thug music.
Thug is the new N-word. And look, and I'm looking at a barrel. I said, "You're not gonna kill me, you son of a bitch."
There's no weapons in that car. Was he all right to kill my son?
Which is directed and written by Mark Silver. In 3.5 minutes, 10 bullets, 2 lives intersected and were forever altered. That's a way more positive sounding fucking synopsis. Like, that is not. Like,
that sounds like an official studio synopsis to me.
That's the good. There were good people on both sides, like synopsis to this bullshit. This tells the story. What? Yes, Scott?
No, I'd say any movie that like deals with the death of a child, it's always fun to see the weird offhand bending over backwards, not to mention it way they describe that particular plot point when they're discussing a film.
Right. This tells the story of Jordan Davis, who was shot and killed by Michael Dunn in 2012. This was the winner of the Sundance Film Festival Special Jury Prize for Documentary Social Impact and was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize. Premiered on HBO on November 23rd, 2015, and was shortlisted for the Best Documentary Feature for the Academy Awards. Who wants to tackle this one first?
I'll handle it.
All right.
I hadn't seen this movie, this documentary, before this podcast. I had known about it, and it's just one that just ended up just not getting to until the time. And then docs, they instantly disappear the day after Oscars, even though it wasn't even in the Oscar running at that point. I know the story per se, as far as like what happened, but without going, knowing like the bigger detail. So, getting a chance to see the documentary is like, great, cool. I can see how this played out and everything. And it's the kind of thing where it's been a minute, so I didn't exactly know like where it was heading. So I was at least like on the edge as far as like, is this going to be one of the ones where justice is served, or a more traditional way of going about things when it comes to these kind of cases? And without going too far into it, I was pleased, I guess is one way to say it, even though it's like there's still a tragedy here that happened that didn't need to, because one racist asshole that does everything in the book except say I'm racist, which would just be easier for everybody if he just said it. Wouldn't it be great if people just cut that and like, you know what? I am racist. Who am I kidding here? It's like it makes it so much easier for everybody. Like we can really save some time, guys. I'm racist. Like that's but regardless, I like how this documentary is constructed. There are ways to tell these kinds of stories of people that get murdered for whatever reasons, and you just kind of lay out the facts or what have you. I like that this film has a way of presenting the details involved, presenting the court case involved, presenting some backstory, doing a number of different things that aren't necessarily innovative, but like at least give you a lot of context and form it in a way that is, I don't want to say propulsive, but sort of the momentum's there to keep you kind of invested in what's going to take place and provide a level of, I don't want to say thrill, but like you're caught up in the moment as far as how this could play out, especially if you're familiar with, various cases of Black people getting shot for no reason and seeing them again and again play out in ways that are not favorable. It is like, where is this going? What's this going to be? And you can't prescribe a happy ending. This isn't, it's not a screenplay. It's, if anything, more of like a fever pitch, right, Scott? Where it's like you think it's going to maybe go one way, and then we have to like rewrite how we had things going because we didn't expect the outcome that we got. I don't know the process that the director had as far as making this document, if he was like doing it from the start of things and culled together footage, or did it after the fact, what have you. But the fact that it kind of has a resolution while still, being an emotional watch, and having obviously things that, to reflect upon and say or whatnot, and ideally enlighten those that look at stories like this and like try to both sides it or try to justify certain things. I think the doc does a good job of laying everything out in front of you without like feel like it needs to preach like why one side is clearly in the wrong and why the other side isn't. So like I enjoyed this doc quite a bit. I think it does a good job of presenting what it's doing.
Scott, why did you disagree with the court's outcome on this one?
Let him go. No. Although, I mean, speaking purely in macabre humor, when it comes up on screen that he had already basically been sentenced to oh yeah, we don't want to talk spoilers here for this real.
Yeah. I mean, this is historical.
He'd already been sentenced to 90 years for the other charges, and he was convicted on the first time. I was like, I get the circumstances, but he would have died in prison anyway. But okay, I get it. Whatever. Because when he gets acquitted of the key murder charge, but convicted of basically everything else, my question is, okay, that's still going to be a decent chunk of jail time, right? And they don't really tell you until the very end. That being said, again, this is what it is. Again, I talked about this a lot in the 2004 summer podcast, where it's like you're watching these things that are social issue documentaries, and you think maybe history is on an upward slope a little bit, and now rewatching them, they're like, well, nothing came of that, and if anything, things are worse.
Like, yes, like decidedly worse given what this doc is versus just a couple years later.
Yeah.
Well, we all with this one, like, we all weren't stuck at home and being all laser focused, on what was happening.
I do think it's funny that you not funny, but like you I'm going to digress slightly. Where like you read a bunch of media coverage saying that Hollywood has only been tuned in to racial injustice since 2020. It's like, first of all, I remember The Hate U Give being greenlit as a movie in like 2016. And it's not like nobody was talking about this shit back in 2013, 2014. Not saying that's good enough or any bullshit like that, but this is weird revisionist history, and I don't know why. But it's like, it's almost like they're trying to pretend that they only discovered racial injustice in 2020, so it's not as horrible of a thing to walk it back in 2025.
What year was Blind Spotting too? We had like a
20. Yeah, again, I mean, this is
go back further, like fucking Sam Jackson's key line. Yes, they deserve to die.
Yeah,
yes,
and I hope they burn in hell.
Gene Hackman just died, star of Mississippi Burning. I mean,
in the heat of the night, like, I mean, we're going way back.
1967. Sidney Poitier slaps a white man in the face. He's being an asshole.
But as for this film, it's what I thought was interesting about it is that, for one thing, it doesn't rely on too much talking head stuff, which is nice because, again, as Aaron said, you don't need to have your hand held explaining what is or isn't injustice in terms of what we're seeing. Theoretically, anyone watching this film, not by accident, is coming to it from a certain, social, political, cultural point of view. That being said, I do like the way that, frankly, most of the facts are laid out during the trial, which almost puts you in a skewed way of learning about as much as the jurors did in quote unquote real time. In a way that is compelling and engaging, in a way that if you ever watch a real trial on court TV, it ain't Law and Order. And I remember the first time I watched a real trial on court TV for whatever reason, I was sort of shocked at how different it was from television. It was just last year. No, I'm kidding.
It does play well with like the court structure, right? By having key witnesses and testimonies and things. Like, it's the kind of thing you can't make up, but thanks to editing and just frankly a riveting case, like, it works in that way that documentaries don't always aren't always able to like capture.
But beyond this is an interestingly well-made way to tell this story. I mean, not to be glib, but, and this is something that I would feel a little bit more ongoing as over the next decade, which is like, if I'm already coming into this as someone that, not to be too honky-donkey about myself, I'm already on the side of the angels, shooting unarmed civilians is bad actually, then what else am I to gain from this movie? Especially knowing that, dear God, this isn't going to change a single heart and mind anyway, because we know that. Now, that being said, again, it's still very well made. It's still, I'm glad I watched it. I was most interested in terms of how it uses the actual trial to tell the story in a non-sensationalistic but still compelling way. But as far as a historical artifact, again, it's one of those films like this and, Do Not Resist, which I saw in Zurich a year later, which dealt with the over-militarization of police officers in the aftermath of 9/11. It's like, boy, this is terrible. I hope the next Hillary Clinton administration does something about this.
I would think the difference is beyond like, yes, just as like a person that studies film more closely than the average person, you would get out of it just the good filmmaking involved or what have you. But I do think there's an emotional resonance that if you're invested in what's going on, given the outcome of this particular film, despite whatever discrepancies might have in terms of time or whatnot, there's a satisfaction you get to like actually feel, just to speak to just the pure emotional standpoint of it, which I think is, that's as worthwhile as any number of films I rewatch over and over again because I feel something out of them, whether it's comedy or, the joy of a romance working out or something, even though I know what's going to happen. Knowing what this outcome is going to be, or like knowing what side you're on and seeing a side of the argument presenting itself so effectively that it actually works, that is emotionally satisfying to see in a film, I would say.
Oh yeah,
I don't think you're not thinking that,
but yeah, I don't want to be so glib as to say I enjoyed this more because it has almost as happy an ending as you might expect from this kind of case. But short of a fantastical wish fulfillment wacky finale, this is about as happy as we're going to get in these circumstances, and that maybe is what makes this unique.
Which is more than I can say about other documentaries where I agree with you. Like I'm on the side of this already. I'm glad I'm informed even more, I guess. But like, what did I get? This at least has something else to go with.
Yes.
Yeah. No. The documentary, like, because of like editing and stuff, we get a even happier resolution in quicker time than what they actually had to wait out for it, because the original verdict is like, that's kind of stupid. Like it's like okay, but all right. But this is a very hardcore court case like documentary. Like it feels like a more exciting version of a boring, the boring monotony of the court thing. I found this good, not great, just because of like the storytelling motif. I would, like Scott said, they're already preaching to the choir with me. Like I know what side I'm on and stuff, but there was something just too strict about it, and there wasn't like, I was hoping for more stuff about I don't want to say like I need to know more about the shooter, but I wanted more people like in confessionals talking about like this guy's attitude and shit, and like just to like sort of build it up to where you're like, oh, this fucker's gonna get away with it, and all these people think he's a piece of shit. But there was none of that. Like it only purely, the documentary stuff came from Jordan Davis's side of people, but maybe all the people on that side refused to do interviews.
I think it's a mix of that kind of thing, and you want to have like so many of these stories focus on different things or what have you. I think that we're getting so much of who the victim is in all of this is.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes without saying that it's important, but I mean, I have no doubt that beyond permissions, he probably did have a lot of representation of the, like, documentaries work. You cull so much together, you have to edit it down to make it.
I mean, we had his like private phone calls to his girlfriend or something, and which it ends up being surprising that she completely, she's the key witness and goes with the truth, with the truth.
Faith
and
in
stuff.
humanity slightly restored.
Yeah,
slightly restored.
Because
One
it's
weirdly
weird.
comic thought. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, speaking of, like, of all the things that, like, with me, like, if he's gonna lie about a gun, why a shotgun? Like, how is someone pull that from a, like, I was like, that's the dumbest fucking, like, beyond, like, okay.
I mean, the Venn diagram of racists and idiots. I mean,
yeah, true. And then there's one part where one of his friends is pointing out, which, like, made me upset, because I'm like, we have gone no further. Where he's talking about, having the word thug as a replacement word, and I'm like, fuck, we've evolved that like 2 or 3 times since this fucking came out, because we went through, there was thug, and then there was woke, and DEI is the new one trying to replace woke with shit that, like,
Critical race theory was cute. I missed that one.
Thug did last a while, because thug was like came out of, like, the hip hop culture, like, oh, I'm a thug, and then whites decided, like, that's gonna be our word to call you. So that was the thing, but now it's been replaced. It still gets used in sports and stuff. I see where they describe a black player they don't like, they thugs. I'm like, all right, whatever.
One weirdly comic thought I had while watching this is I'm sitting there trying to place why the defendant looks so familiar, and I realized, oh, okay. Yeah, I imagine if he had seen this 10 years ago, John Carroll Lynch would be sitting there going, yeah, I don't need an Oscar that badly.
I entirely agree with you. He had big John Carroll Lynch energy. I was right there looking at him, like, yeah.
Yeah, that guy, I just did not like. And he came off like he thought he was gonna walk out of there.
Walk out, yeah.
When that trial starts, like,
he's a fucking superhero.
I'm like, this guy's like, oh fuck. I'm like, this is gonna be. I'm gonna hate this guy even more, going through it. But yeah, I don't know. There's something just about the presentation that was like not great. It kept this movie from being great for me. And I'm talking about mainly editorial stuff. I'm not talking about like, I was invested in this movie and stuff, and I did enjoy it. But there was something that was like, just like maybe just elements, sources, stuff like that weren't available to them as much as they could have been. And it was just like hard. It was very cold, hard, like court stuff mostly. But no, it was, and it just sucks that we many times we get these reminders going through these summer ofs. We're still here with this shit. Not cool at all.
Well, at least since Fahrenheit 9/11, the war in the Middle East has ended, right?
All gone. Yep, there we go.
Less troops than ever.
Yeah, less troops. Yeah. So now I just But no, this is one we only played in one theater, but I was like, we're talking about this one. This is relevant stuff like that. Scott fought, but it was 2 against 1. So yeah.
You threw out Ant-Man for this, right? We're not talking about Ant-Man.
Yep, Ant-Man's gone. Sorry, folks.
Rogue Nation.
One Marvel movie is enough. Okay, one's enough. No more Ant-Man.
Wait. Did we throw out Pixels for this?
Nope, Pixels is happening.
Damn it.
Yeah.
What if we just didn't die with Ant-Man? We like talk about Trainwreck, and then we just stopped the show.
There we go. Perfect. Oh. Okay, we will move on to our next movie, which I see Manglehorn playing in 3 theaters.
Manglehorn, lock and key.
Oh, kid locked in a filthy car. How you doing there?
He looks happy. Dear Clara, how I missed you. You know, not a day goes by where I don't miss you deeply. Never have I felt more alive than when you looked at me. I got
Coach Mangy basketball, all-sport coach.
Need some money? I give you a loan if you need one. Just no, I don't need your money. I just came to see my son, you know. Oh, Fanny, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you last night. I had to get in my boat. I got a boat with Fanny. Get on the ocean and just disappear.
What would I do without my friend around? You know, I'd be sad on Fridays.
These people in my life standing here, they're waiting for a miracle.
Well, maybe this other woman, maybe she'll return. And maybe you'll remember how to love someone with more than an animal.
You don't know who I am!
But none of them mean a thing to me.
I'm sorry.
Just making fun of me.
It would be great if you could be a father.
I know you're a son of a bitch.
Yes.
Why do you hate everyone?
You know, balloon belongs in the sky where it came from. So it gets lonely. I love you very much.
I love you too. Thank you for my lion.
See you next week.
Directed by David Gordon Green. Written by Paul Brad
8
Logan.
movies he directed that month, I'm sure.
Yes. Starring Al Pacino, Holly Hunter, Chris Messina, Harmony Korine, and Skylar Gasper.
God, Corinne's in this.
Yep. Left heartbroken by the woman he loved and lost many years ago, Manglehorn, an eccentric small-town locksmith, tries to start his life over again with the help of a new friend. All right. Scott. Manglehorn.
First of all, I mean, with a name like that, how is he not a TV cop?
Tuesdays on Fox.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This film is one of those films that can often annoy me. Some of these are better than others, where it's like this, frankly, white guy who, like, is old and is filled with regret because he made terrible, terrible choices for the entirety of his life. And we're supposed to feel bad for him because now he realizes that he made terrible, terrible choices for the majority of his life. And again, it's not a zero-sum game, but stuff like, what's that Michael Douglas movie where he thinks he's dying and
there's like 3 of those. I know what you're talking about, though. But
not Wonder Boys. Wonder Boys fucking rocks.
Yeah.
I know. It's like one of the more. Is it King of something? Is it that one?
Yes. And again, I these films are not evil or immoral or anything stupid like that, but it's just like, okay, dumbass. Sorry you didn't figure out the secret of life not being a dick until you were almost dead. That being said, I mean, this is a pretty thin version of that anyway. Honestly, the only thing it really has to offer is an acting class from Al Pacino. And if anything, the film mostly exists to remind you that he is still an excellent screen actor. And Holly Hunter being hot, which is not nothing.
There's King of California and there's Solitary Man. There's like
Solitary Man was the one I was thinking of.
That's the one you're thinking of, yeah.
Yes. Which again, these are not evil, sinful movies, but like the whole time is like, I don't feel bad for you. You were a moron. I feel worse for the wife and her children you fucked over. But anyway, this film is needlessly cryptic in terms of this. Why is he mourning for this woman that he never got with? Blah blah blah. Really doesn't matter. There are individual scenes that are good. The dinner date with Holly Hunter is terrific. And it's the most, I know I'm fucking up the timelines in terms of when these record and when they're released, but it's the most awkward first date scene I've seen since Magazine Dreams.
Okay.
That was worth it.
I'm glad you chose one of those highly relatable examples.
Yes, exactly. He has one scene toward the end with his son, played by, I believe, Chris Messina, that's very good.
Yeah. That's Chris.
And again, it's well acted, it's well performed, but with all due respect to it's just a character study and it doesn't have to be more than that, and that's fine. It had nothing really to offer than come watch Al Pacino act. And that's not nothing, but it wasn't, I would argue, was not a very engrossing movie unto itself. and it's probably like the second, third, fourth, maybe fifth best movie that David Gordon Green made in the second quarter of 2015.
Gotcha. So Scott, like, where you're saying this type of, I felt like this kind of feels like there's this genre of film, which kind of fits what you're saying, where it takes like the kind of bread and butter character study films that we would get in like the 70s and early 80s. But it's like, instead of them, let's pick up with their life now when it's not interesting anymore, or this big event and they're pondering or whatnot. And it's like, yeah. So Pacino's fine in here, but this is very like, I'm going to try to snooze my way to a sneaky Academy Award nomination, because it's like Pacino talks to kids, Pacino talks to a cat, Pacino talks to himself, like this type of bullshit. And
Pacino talks to you,
and he complained that I was reading that there's an original script or cut of the film, apparently had some more meat to it, and Green changed it all, and Pacino was not in favor because that took away the reasons he wanted to do the film. There's apparently like, he was actually someone who had been in prison and came out. And then like the end, there was supposed to be some earthquake fucking sequence and with Holly Hunter that, it was supposed to be, I don't know that it saves this movie, but for a while you start to, okay, we're going to watch Pacino just act this thing out. And then it just kind of lulls, and there's the real relationship with, the old kid that used to be on his baseball team thing.
Harmony
Korine. Yeah. And it's just like, okay, this guy is in this movie where, there's always the random girl that they meet that's going to be this love that doesn't work out for this one movie, the reconnection, and there's the tattered relationship. All these like tropes here. I don't even think Gordon Green's directing is like that interesting, or this thing's put together that way. And the Messina scene, there are good scenes in this movie that you could just watch. Like the Chris Messina scene's got like good shit where he's like, I didn't even love your mother. Like,
you have the best Chris involved. I mean,
and there's stuff. It just, I don't know. This is just a whole lot of, I just watched that type movie, and I didn't really get much out of it other than just like Pacino being a sad sack, writing to this woman who I assumed we were going to see. It's like, oh, she died or something, and he's wanting to meet up with her. Or it was because of him or something. Oh, I forgot. There was something in the original script that woman was going to return because of an event they cut from the movie or something like that, and that never got resolved. But it's just some little character study of that's not really a study. It's just like, here's some stuff from Pacino to bounce off of and act. And I don't even think I feel like he's almost sleepwalking through this one. So I was not very big on the horns that got mangled. Aaron, did you go to one of the 3 theaters this played at and see it back in 2015?
Oh, I did not, but Manglehorn. Manglehorn's the kind of movie that you see where you do some hardcore acting, and you put your stamp on it, and then you get really soft sometimes to make sure you reflect, and you talk to the actors that look at you in the eye, and you're like, oh, that's Al Pacino. Like, I know, I'm Al Pacino. And frankly, I think Danny Collins is a better movie than Manglehorn. This just doesn't... this, because it just turns into Adam Sandler eventually.
And Jill.
I don't disagree with you guys. Like, the perfect way to phrase it, like you said, is like, it's these like, what if we took these 70s movies and made a legacy sequel to them, where it's like, what is Joe Buck doing in Florida now that Dustin Hoffman's dead 20 years later? I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like,
who does Travis Bickle get coffee with these days? Like,
what's Scarecrow 2 about?
Scarecrow 2.
You won't believe what happens in the conversation part 2. Holy shit.
Will Smith meets him.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, like, there's so much I want to like this thing, because, like, good actors act good. I like Gordon Green has the book about Gordon Green's career will be fascinating because it's such
Yes.
a wild like these indies. Then he and McBride like just go the comedy route. Then he comes back and does like Joe and Prince Avalanche and this. Meanwhile, he's directing like the best comedy on HBO through like different seasons, whether it's Eastbound or Vice Principals or whatever. And then it's back to, oh yeah, I guess I did Prestige stuff, so Stronger, like. And like, you know what? I do love horror. Let me do like 3 Halloweens. Just throw that in there. It's such a
And
wild.
he's not a journeyman either. He's like stylistic. He's got a voice.
Yeah, he's like a really interesting director with flourishes and all kinds of ideas. Like, it's like he's like a like Mendes. I think would be like the closest, but at least Mendes is not like super prolific in the way that David Gordon Green is.
I used to make a joke that he and Ang Lee were in some kind of competition to have the most what the fuck resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this Ang Lee like more or less delivers every time out, and it feels like he really put something in there. Where this is like one where he just like, yeah, I was on a break between Eastbound episodes. Al Pacino came knocking at my door as he does. So let me see what I can do. And yeah, it absolutely reeks of ideally this would be prestige play, but it didn't quite get there. So we'll just throw it out in the summer and see what happens. And there's just nothing really to this. Like I didn't dislike my time with this movie in the way that like Scott did just because of the nature of the characters. Like, yeah, I get it. It's one of these old guys that's regretful about the life he chose to lead, and I don't have much sympathy for him. But I like this period, this like version of Pacino I do tend to enjoy, which is why I actually do like Danny Collins quite a bit. I think it's a better movie. It's more fun. He plays like I think an aging rock star or a rock manager or something along those lines, and he comes to town and he's just like charming every single person he runs into, and it's really funny. It's just
There's
like
more movie there. I mean,
there's a lot more movie there, yeah. Because it
Yeah.
has like 17 co-stars in it. That's why
Yeah, that's-
this movie relies on sad Chris Messina and Holly Hunter being beneath her to be in this role. It's like, why? What are we doing here? The thing you described, Brandon, as far as what this movie could have been, that sounds interesting. If he was like an ex-con or like was in jail, it's like, well, that makes sense why he's a locksmith. That's such a curious career to have. It's like, yeah, if he was like a professional thief or something,
It's a
that would
cool
make
career
sense.
for a movie that this movie doesn't really do much with.
Doesn't
at
do
all.
anything with it. Like that's the start of the movie where it's like, oh, he's a locksmith. That's neat. How will that play into things? And the movie's like, who cares? Like I did.
That's just background info. Who cares? I'm like, because I'm like, oh, that's an interesting profession to have your lead be in a movie, and a couple scenes, just nothing.
Yeah. So like, there's not much to add here. Like I agree with you guys. It's a nothing movie. I don't dislike the performances because again, you have at least three. You have Holly Hunter, Pacino, and I do like Messina quite a bit. I think he's a good actor. That's a cool set of people to have in your movie, and Harmony Korine, who makes his presence known very loudly every time. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. I didn't see this when it came out. I knew about it because I'm like, oh, David Gordon Green's got another one. What a surprise! But I just never got to it. No, because I was patiently waiting for the our brand is Crisis to come out in October. I was like, too much green in 1 year.
A very topical, ironic film to discuss on this episode.
Yeah,
because short of G.I. Joe Retaliation, that is the most prescient movie of the pre-Donald Trump political era.
So yeah, I just never got to it. Now I see it as like, oh yeah, okay, I didn't miss much. Danny Collins, that's the way to go. Apparently. Is that Dan Fogelman? Is that who that is? Like the This Is Us guy, I think. Like the Danny Collins too. Man, I'm gonna watch so much Danny Collins after this podcast.
DC. Yeah, no, and like Pacino, like he's just got this like way about like it's just like never looking people in the eyes type thing, and just I don't know. I feel like it's part of his characterization, but he just feels disinterested in this, and and there's one of the weirdest things I've noticed in movies, and it was since we did Summer of '82 at 40 with author Pacino with kids is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always strange with like I don't think he's a father in real life, is he? Does he have
Yes, he
kids?
is.
Is he? Okay,
I
sorry.
think
He has
many
like
times over.
8 kids.
Is he 8 kids? Well,
He has like a 3 or 2-year-old or something
All
like
right,
that.
well,
He's got kids coming out the yin yang.
Well, sorry, but
He had as
performances
many
in
kids as David Gordon Green has movies.
right.
Don't you remember his phone? He has like a Shrek phone case because his kid.
Oh,
gave it
that's
to him.
right. That's right. Sorry. It's just what I mean to say is he acts with kids in movies as if he's a guy who has had no experience in real life acting with kids or being with kids. Like it feels performative and like what you think, like someone would think, and it just there's some disingenuousness like with him and kids in movies.
I know what you're saying. I find it like not like endearing, but I think it's like a cute old man type of thing where he's like trying to like present himself in a way that's not like overbearing and yet like it's like so it comes off as kind of awkward. So he just kind of like shuffling around like, oh hey, oh kids over there. Oh, I was make sure to brush your teeth. Like it's just like non sequiturs and things like that. I get it. Like it's not like I need to see like Grandpa Day Camp, where he like has to monitor a bunch of kids or something.
True. True. No, it's really just something weird I've noticed.
Maybe he just really likes hanging around with Chris O'Donnell pretending to be blind, and so he just applies that to every kid performance he has to do.
There you go.
Wow, yeah. Kids, look at their keys. Jingle, jingle. Like that? Yeah. Here's your own set.
Time to tango.
Oh, my. Let me get my glass.
I mean, make sure to say hello. Say tango low so you know that it's an Oscar performance.
Yeah, get real low.
Oscar, Carlito's Way.
Some people say.
It's a good time for me to go to the bathroom.
Oh. Well, we don't have commercials here, but television has commercials, and some of them ran during what we're about to talk about with the TV ratings this week.
And as a championship coach, Smith will bring it up, throw up a 3, rebound Curry, and the dream season is now complete. The Golden State Warriors are the 2015 NBA champions, their first title in 40 years. And how sweet it must be for those crazy loyal Bay Area fans.
Our number one program was the NBA Finals, Game 6, in which the Cleveland Cavaliers lose 97-105 the Golden State Warriors, which means the Warriors defeat the Cavaliers 4-2 games for their 4th NBA title in franchise history. MVP of the series, Andre Iguodala. It was all on ABC. The number 2 show this week, America's Got Talent on NBC. Number 3.
Who doesn't have talent? The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, that was LeBron James, sir. He took them to 4 straight. They only won 1 in that run, but he did take them to 4 straight. Those pesky Warriors beat them every damn
It's
near.
a real shame because Drew Carey told me that Cleveland rocks.
Yeah. Ohio.
Drew Carey told me a lot of things, Aaron. Drew Carey told me a lot of things. The price was not right.
Oh.
Unless you wanted to get a sandwich during the strike season.
He never told me whose line it was anyway.
Usually Wayne's.
It was all of our lines.
It's usually Wayne's.
Number 3, the PGA US Open Round 4 on Fox. Number 4, a repeat of NCIS on CBS.
Ooh, good one.
Number 5, 2020 on ABC. Number 6, a repeat of The Big Bang Theory on CBS. Number 7, those repeats were more important to America than watching the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 6, in which the Chicago Blackhawks beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 2-0 on NBC, and the Blackhawks win also 4-2 to take the 6th Stanley Cup in their franchise history. MVP, Duncan Keith.
Brandon, this is America.
Really
Nobody gives a shit about hockey.
Apparently, this week in a top 10 circumstance, they did. And number 8.
I find this fascinating, Brandon, so keep going.
I'm going to keep going with hockey. Number 8, NBA Countdown on Tuesday on ABC, the pregame show for the finals.
Wow.
See, the pregame show did almost as well as the other sports final game of the season.
Mm-hmm. Only a 0.1 difference in the rating numbers.
It was an NBA pregame show?
Yeah, NBA pregame show.
So it's like Shaq and Chuck?
Yeah, it was probably them back then.
Well, yeah, they're great. So I can't deny
on
it.
ABC. Yeah, gotta have
They're
them.
great.
Number 9, The Bachelorette Monday on ABC, and
Obviously.
then number 10, Dateline NBC.
Oh yeah,
that
good
was
stories.
aired on NBC. Hannibal this week did a 1.2 rating to share, and 1.7 million people watched it on Thursday night.
Gross thing to happen to that episode that I definitely ate lunch
Think
during.
it's gonna get a season 4. And last but not least, the season finale of Orphan Black aired on BBC America during this week, and I loved that show. So
the first season or
third season, season 3,
I never got past 2, I believe.
Gotcha.
I liked the show. I just slipped away.
Yeah, I love the show. I didn't watch the Kristen Ritter one. That
got canceled.
Got canceled
pretty
after
much
one
immediately.
season. So once it gets to a
That's why I
free
didn't
streamer, I'll watch it. But Tatiana Maslany,
She's great.
shame on the Emmys for like never awarding her. They never even.
She did award. What are you talking about? She got an Emmy.
Did she get an Emmy?
Yes, she did.
She got nominated like the last season. I know that
She won. She has an Emmy.
Did she?
for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you. All right.
That's why it's a trip, because like it's not like a mainstream show by any means, and she won an Emmy for it.
All
I
right.
think that's awesome.
Gotcha. Yeah, she was, and she's amazing in that show. She's amazing.
She's amazing at it. Like that's
it's insane.
because the Emmys
you
are
believe they are all different fucking people. It's so crazy.
Because the Emmys have such a weird pattern of like, you know who hasn't won enough? Jim Parsons. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, surely there should be a cap on this. How many times can Modern Family win? And then like Orphan Black comes out and it's like, let's award Tatiana Maslany, someone that's on a show that is not watched by most of America, but fucking shit, like she's great. Let's give her an award. Like that was great to see.
She is wonderful. Like it's just stunning. And the fact that she is, I mean, she's in a lot of stuff now, but like the fact that she isn't like household name taken on. Well, she's household name for like incels that don't like She-Hulk, but
yeah, because people love She-Hulk too much. That was the issue. So
she's. I think next she'll be in the Star Trek Starfleet Academy show coming to Paramount Plus. This is her next area she'll be in.
She's fun. She has residuals of Orphan
Black.
she's
good. She was great in Perry Mason. Yeah, she was great.
I think she won another Emmy for that. I think she has like a supporting Emmy or something.
And it was funny because like I remember Disney was bringing in her a lot. She like went out. I think they brought her in to play for test screen for Rey in Force Awakens. They brought her in for Jyn Erso. She was like down to the last 2. It was between her and Felicity Jones for Jyn Erso for Rogue One, and they kept bringing her. I think they brought her in for another like Marvel movie, and then she finally was She-Hulk. So she was around the Disney lot, auditioning a lot, and then they finally found something for her.
She'll be in a Star Wars sooner or later.
She's in a
She has Star Wars energy.
She's in a Star Trek now. But
who cares?
You know what? I think of her performance in Orphan Black certainly was dope. Our next movie.
A bad day for most geeks would be getting beat up by jocks.
Think you're gonna get into Harvard?
You gonna say something or just stare at me?
At the party.
What's in the backpack?
Don't put that in my bag.
Well, what do you want to do with it? You know what a slippery slope is?
Do it got anything to do with skiing? I've got a bag for this address.
My dad's at his office, but y'all can hang out till he gets back.
You know,
You wanna come in?
yeah.
Sure. Yeah, come in.
Dope, rated R, in theaters June 19th.
By Rick Famuyiwa, right? That's how you pronounce it.
Yep.
And written by Rick Famuyiwa. Starring Shamik Moore, Zoe Kravitz, Tony Revolori, Lakeith Stanfield, Kiersey Clemens, Kimberly Elise. Is it ASAP Rocky or is it a $sign AP Rocky?
ASAP Rocky, yes.
Flake Anderson, Chanel Iman, Roger Guenver Smith. Is it Guenver? Yeah. And the voice of Forrest Whitaker. Life changes for Malcolm, a geek who's surviving life in a tough neighborhood after a chance invitation to an underground party leads him and his friends into a Los Angeles adventure. This film would be later re-released over Labor Day weekend. And DeAndre Bonds reprises his role from The Wood in this movie. And this was also the first film to accept Bitcoin for ticket purchases as a way to play into the film's plot, as well as being one of the first films to ever mention Bitcoin or crypto. And then, fun fact we got for this summer, Lakeith Stanfield plays a member of the Bloods in this movie, and then we will later see him this summer be a member of the Crips. So we got showing some range here. Aaron, tell us about Dope.
I love Dope. I think I'm a huge fan of this movie. This was a big win for me this summer. I got to do the roundtable interview, so I talked to the entire cast and crew about the movie. I was pretty just like the soundtrack was in my car like most of the summer. I want to hear from Scott as far as like Universal's attempts to basically just do anything they could to make this movie happen, because it certainly seems to want to, and rightfully so. It's this original thing that has all these up and coming stars or whatnot. Like it's a movie that like we should want to see succeed, and like more or less it does fine-ish for the budget that it's at. But it's like the movie itself, I'm such a big fan of. Shameik Moore, who's the lead here, he's now Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
A lot of Spider-Man stuff, or a couple of Spider-Man things from this, because
really
Trey Revolori,
Revolori / Thompson. And, I ran into him last week actually, and I told him I interviewed him for Dope like 10 years ago. No, I think this movie is so much fun to get into. I think the first hour of Dope is one of the best movies of like the decade. Like it's such a, as far as like coming of age comedy things, like it has so much propulsion and energy, and it works in this kind of like the one day comedies where it's like one long day of all this stuff happening, to the point where you're like, there's another 40 minutes of this movie that's not going to be the day anymore. Oh, okay. Like it's this other thing that still like has the same kind of energy and is doing other things that are interesting with the Bitcoin aspect of the film and incorporating other ideas and more meaning into the text as far as the themes, what have you, which I appreciate. But like, it's funny that it's Rick Famuyiwa, because you'd be convinced that this movie's made by like a new up and coming director, and it's like, no, it's him who's been around since The Wood, since '99. So it's
well, it's like I didn't know him as a name, but I had seen his, like I'd seen The Wood, I'd seen Brown Sugar, and that talked to me. Didn't he write? Did he write that? Yeah,
he wrote that.
I didn't have him as a name in my head.
But like just the energy this movie has, you'd think it'd be like from like some 20-year-old director that like got his friends together and made this thing, got called a number of names. Instead, it's like, no, it's a guy that has connections or whatnot. I just wanted to make like a cool movie. And it's the kind of movie, like I don't have any like personal relation to this because I'm not from LA. I didn't grow up in troubled areas or what have you, where I have to deal with certain kinds of things in the same way that these characters do. But in terms of being someone that likes the kinds of things that some of these characters like, or embraces things like doing a film podcast or what have you, there's a lot of relatable aspects that I connected with as far as what this movie's trying to do, as far as delving into what a young black kid who feels somewhat alienated from some of his peers and not all of them. There's something there that just I responded with quite easily, along with just having a dope soundtrack and having creative visual storytelling motifs and playing around with narrative. I mean, you mentioned Bitcoin, like the fact that this movie's like the nicest version of how to present Bitcoin in a film is very notable. Like, it's a cliff that ends fast as far as good, and then immediately everything else is bad about Bitcoin. But this movie has such an innocent way of using it that's like admirable. Not like it's just going to be me gushing about Dope because I was so excited to see that. Oh yeah, that's right. That was this summer. And I was like, it's not like I need an excuse to watch Dope again. I was like, great, I get to watch Dope again, and it's just so much fun to revisit every time I do. Yeah, I can talk more about it. But Scott, what do you think of Dope?
Yeah. I mean, one of the best films this summer, certainly. I mean, I haven't like done my list or whatever, but as silly as this is going to sound, performative, whatever, this movie felt to me like the future. And I always talk about, before 9/11 in the late 90s, we were having films like, Rush Hour and The Birdcage and Waiting to Exhale. It's like, okay, this is the future. This is what we're going to see, these films that are, yes, they're more inclusive. Yes, they're more diverse, but they're also taking well-worn archetypical genres and using that demographic specificity to make them different and unique, and in some cases better. And again, this isn't a hot take. This is the text of the fucking movie. But the idea of taking this stereotypical John Hughes-ish one crazy day teen coming of age adventure story and doing, oh no, wait, because it's about a black kid, it's can only, it's fucking serious in terms of, obviously it's a comedy, but the consequences of failure and the consequences of what could happen to this kid are very different than what's facing Ferris Bueller. And again, that's not a hot take, that's the movie. But that was also in the watching, made it incredibly involving and engaging, and I don't want to say emotional, but yeah, gripping in a way that, I'm not sitting there on the edge of my seat watching Adventures of Babysitting. Because I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, she's gonna be okay.
But will she find the right guy?
Exactly. And and yeah, it's weird because you're right, because this film was it not only felt like it was made by an up and comer, but in this weird, skewed, intentional or not, it was almost like Open Road and Friends wanted you to think that it was directed by an up and comer, because that was almost like the narrative they wanted to present. This brand new of the moment movie made, new ideas, new topicality, blah blah blah.
It's kind of like a second act for Famuyiwa, because
it's like his reboot.
He's like, yeah, exactly, because he's made studio rom-coms.
People who knew who he was.
There's a big gap between this and his previously directed film.
And I think he even mentioned that, like, it was funny, is like people thought I was this, I've directed several films. And the great tragedy, of course, is that this is basically the last movie he ever makes. And
the tragedy being he goes on to make ducats of money directing Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean,
one hopes. I don't know how much you make actually directing those. But yeah,
when they keep you employed, I don't think he's not making money.
Yeah, he is in the
most
brain trust.
optimistic I ever was for DC films was when he was announced to direct The Flash.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I was.
And it is telling how awry the industry overall went. That we went from, here's this Flash movie that's going to be very skewing street level, blue collar of the moment, to it's a time travel action movie that's banking on nostalgia for 50-year-olds. And obviously the story of DC films is very complicated with lots of bumps and whatever. But
I made a chart.
Both
it's a long chart.
The Flash. I mean,
I remember that. You did make a chart. Yeah,
we had Famuyiwa, and then you had Lord Miller, and you're like, okay, well, those two directions were good, and then we wound
the
up.
Game Night people like, okay, that's fine.
Game Night, and then they're like, what about Zemeckis though? And I'm like, and then they're like, oh, no, Jenny.
I'm going to be vague here because I don't know if I'm still, whatever, but I spoke to a person at Warner Brothers when that was happening, one of the few times I ever had a one-on-one with that person, and basically talked them out of it. It's like, look, Zemeckis did this one time travel movie that everybody likes, but he's 70 fucking years old. If you're trying to make a skewing Flash movie, you need someone that isn't 70 fucking years old, that hasn't made a much beloved live action movie since 2000.
If he brought that Beowulf energy to the Flash, that would have been something.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, this film is, it's again, it felt like this is what we say we want when even, performative white nerds like me are screaming inclusion, diversity. It's not just because yay social progress, it's because these are the kind of different movies that I, who sees everything, want to see because they're different from the other stuff.
And you've seen over and over again.
Yeah. And, I know this is a minority opinion, but one of the reasons I like some of Ben Falcone's directed Melissa McCarthy films is because they are very different because of their respective comic sensibilities. Some of those films are better than others.
Well, yeah, you implying that some of them have comedy in them is impressive. That's a
touche. But and it kind of, especially 10 years later, things are terrible, blah blah blah. This is another one that sort of breaks my heart because it feels like a fork in the road not taken. But it's on its own in a vacuum. It's still a fucking great piece of mainstream popcorn entertainment. And even though it wasn't a super duper giant blockbuster, it still made more money than Foxcatcher and Whiplash.
Boom. There you go.
Take that, Bennett Miller.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Bennett Miller.
No,
you stole Ava DuVernay's Oscar nomination for Selma kind of sorta. Remember when I called you from the car because I was going on a TV show to talk about that, and I did not have a clue how to pronounce her name.
Yes.
And I called you up asking. Because as you know, I'm terrible with pronouncing people's names.
They've heard this show, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was excited for Dope back in 2015 and the trailer and everything, and it came through. This is a fun movie, and I was very excited when I was going through. I'm like, oh shit, Dope, because I haven't seen it in a long time, and this year, kind of 10 years later, celebrating the perfect double feature pairing of One of Them Days came out this year. Like Dope,
One of Them Days, yeah,
that would make a great pairing together. And this movie had one thing going back to it that I loved about this film. While it has quite a bit of like throwback nostalgia and like this vintage touch to it, it doesn't consume the movie, and the film doesn't completely make it its identity. You know, like that is just like our backdrop setting and everything.
It's in conversation with that idea. Yeah,
it has its own like vision and style that isn't like throwing back to anything. It's just these are kids that are into that, and it's a kind of a nostalgia that we haven't had overdone, you know, or anything like that. So
it's like watching like Brick, except it's only 3 kids that are into the bit.
Yes, yeah, very very much so. Yeah, they got their own lingo and stuff, and then the music they play isn't even like sound like the.
No, it's just like 2000s punk stuff. Like
it's 2000s punk stuff. It's interesting. It's such a cool whirlwind to see where this film, like, this really has a great bookend to it, with how this movie goes and the adventure that's like far-fetched and silly, but also like believable
really,
at the same time.
Really
it's not too
dark too when you think
dark
about
too. And I like seeing like
it's dark without going too dark.
Yeah,
no, it's
it holds back from being menace to society.
Yeah, it's cynical.
Yes.
And I actually, one of the things I really like about it, then I'll shut up because I know you were talking, is I love the fact that you have the scene that has, you know, a lot of movies like this where the wimpy hero finally finds his courage, often pointing a gun at somebody. And this film is presented as sort of a moral failing and or a tragedy.
Right.
Because, God damn it, I had to resort to that. And that sucks.
Yeah. Also, you get like Zoe Kravitz here, who is slowly learning, like working with people like Famuyiwa, like becoming this director that in this film nerd that we don't know she is at this time. You know, kind of.
Zoe Kravitz, who's modeled after Poetic Justice from summer of '93.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And yeah, there's just a whole lot of like there's fun stuff that goes with their friends, with him like finding who he is, having to become something he's despised or only wanted as like this fantasy thing from his hip hop stuff, and having to live it, seeing it's not fun, and you know, kind of ruins it for him by the end of it because he like, you know, gets his hair cut and things like that. But yeah, this is just a gnarly movie. And I have a lot of fun with that. It still can be discovered, even though it was, you know, it was a decent sized little hit, wasn't it? Was
18 million on a 17 budget, which wasn't great, but
bad.
You're right, Aaron. They tried.
It was pushed a lot. Like you said, it was re-released on because they're like, we could do something with it. Like they felt it. They felt like people want this. We can find the audience, and it just didn't like grab anybody theatrically. But I'm sure I like that everyone from this movie's basically done well, so I can't complain.
Yeah, and I love Lakeith. I think is one of the best working actors we have.
Yeah,
and like just seeing him in this little side role playing a dick. Like
this is early. This is like post short term 12 before Atlanta.
Yeah,
so like he's still kind of young.
Yeah.
This has one of my little favorite like joke payoff joke things where ASAP Rocky explains what a slippery slope means to somebody. Um, and it's a good understanding of what slippery slope is. Then a scene later, he's describing something else, and one of his like henchmen comes by. He's like, slippery slope, and it kills me every time. Every time I hear it, it kills me.
Yeah, I mean, and just the vibe of like all the like you got these character personalities, but they aren't like they straddle this line between being like natural and over the top. That's like really tough to do, where it like doesn't take you out of it, doesn't feel like you're watching something zany, and just it works. And I mean, you got good like chase scenes too that work quite well.
It's kinetic. There's a good energy to the film that really
It's
works
unique too. Like there's not a lot of films I'd say are like Dope fits into a genre of type of kind of films, but like there's not a lot of films like Dope that do it like
I would very much agree.
Yeah, this is definitely, one of the best, probably like, I mean, it's probably top 5 teen movies for like the decade of the 2010s.
That's a fair statement on my end. Yeah, easily.
There's probably like, there are others and stuff, but like, this is in there. This is in the conversation at the worst for being one of those. Like, this movie is just so cool. And like,
if you're trying to decide between Lady Bird, Booksmart, and Dope, you're not having a bad conversation.
Nope. That's great stuff right there.
I will not also nominate Edge of 17.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Not a winner, but deserves a nomination.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. I agree with all that. So, see Dope. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen Dope, see fucking Dope, which I think is, well, I don't know where it'll be on the streamers by the time this drops.
Just call me. You'll be like, I'll come over. We'll watch it.
Yeah, we'll watch Dope. We'll have a Dope watch party.
Dope watch party. Yes.
Dope commentary record. It's gonna be great, guys.
We'll use the screen share thing that Movies Anywhere always tries to tell me. You should do this. You should get some friends together on the Movies Anywhere app. And like,
Aaron and I, fun story. Last year, Aaron and I watched the Hellboy movie together, the new one, The Crooked Man.
Why would you do that?
Because we both were like, we're curious.
We'll be better off watching this together than alone.
Yep. So we had us tonight where I was like,
fair.
We Jack from Lost it. We lived together instead of dying alone.
Very true.
We foxed it.
So speaking of things foxing it, let's go to the Ryan Seacrest top 10.
Broadcasting worldwide from the heart of Hollywood.
The hits and the stars who make them.
This is American Top 40.
Here's your host, Ryan Seacrest.
Here we go. Seacrest with you. The 40 biggest songs in the USA.
He was on American Idol, which was on Fox, Scott.
Fox.
There you go.
Just one.
Just one. So, all right. So this week, Maroon 5 drops one spot to number 10 with Sugar. Jumping into the top 10 at number 9 is Honey, I'm Good by Andy Grammer. Number 8, staying there, Hey Mama by David Guetta featuring Nicki Minaj and Afrojack. And number 7, dropping a spot, Earned It, 50 Shades of Grey from The Weeknd. Number 6, dropping a spot, Uptown Funk, Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars. Number 5, jumping up 2 spots, Want to Want Me by Jason Derulo. Number 4, staying at number 4, Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. Staying at number 3, Trap Queen by Fetty Wap. Staying at number 2, Bad Blood by Taylor Swift featuring Kendrick Lamar. And again, See You Again, which is, that's what it's telling us every week. I'll see you again, number 1, Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth.
I'll always take the right road with you, Brian.
Yeah. Yes.
You think Manglehorn could fit in the Fast and Furious saga?
Dom Luck.
What if I was the villain in the Hobbs and Shaw franchise that we never heard of?
Toretto locked his keys in his car.
Remember how Hobbs and Shaw had a secret villain and they're like, maybe it could be Keanu Reeves? What if it was Manglehorn?
Yeah. I'm Reacher Momoa's papa. So what happened? I like cars. I drive a VW Bug. It's kind of neat.
What if I was Toretto's grandfather with Rita Moreno?
Oh, yeah. Do a little salsa going on with Moreno.
I can hear more and more listeners leaving this show,
including me. I mean,
phase one left early.
All the people who listen
turning
to
it off.
all the other people who listen to the Al Pacino cast.
Oh,
Just
God.
Phase three, like phase three's just in there. Get the fucking Big Bong already. Stop this Manglehorn bullshit.
That's a segue if I ever heard one.
So the scene, Scott. So the scene where that "See You Again" song is played in Furious 7 brought a lot of sadness to people. And sadness is the star of our next film, Inside Out.
I won't swallow my pride.
If you're not subscribed already,
Aaron
you can still do so.
Gave you a segue. You didn't have to run over it with a steamroller.
Oh, I had to flat it. All right,
That's how emotions hit you sometimes.
Ever wonder what makes us feel the way we do?
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. We left the toilet seat up. What is it, woman? What?
Disney and Pixar invite you
He's making that stupid face again.
to meet the little voices inside your head.
I'm joy. This is sadness, anger, disgust, and fear.
Brain freeze!
Come on, group hug. You too, anger.
Don't touch me.
Inside Out. In theaters June 19th.
Inside Out is directed by Peter Docter with Ronnie Del Carmen. Written by Peter Docter. Or Pete Docter.
Pete Docter, yeah.
Pete Docter. Sorry, I know we got Peter Docter. Pete Docter.
Peter Docter's his father's name.
Yes. He says it with the hard R.
It is. I hope his name is Peter. I hope his father's name. I'm gonna look it up.
Pete Docter. Written by Pete Docter, Meg LaFave, and Josh Cooley on an original story by Docter and Ronnie Del Carmen, with additional story material by Michael Arndt and Simon Rich, and additional dialogue by Bill Hader and Amy Poehler. This movie's a mess, guys. Look how many writers are credited.
Classic Pixar. Always scrambling.
Starring Amy Poehler, Phyllis Smith, Richard Kind, Bill Hader, Louis Black, Mindy Kaling, Caitlin Diaz, Diane Lane, Kyle MacLachlan, Paula Poundstone, Let Her Around a Kid movie, Bobby Moynihan, Paula Bell, Frank Oz, Flea, John Ratzenberger, and Rashida Jones. After young, Riley is uprooted from her Midwest life and moved to San Francisco. Her emotions, joy, fear, anger, disgust, and sadness conflict on how to navigate a new city, house, and school. This is the first Pixar film to be produced without involvement from studio co-founder Steve Jobs.
Why?
Well, it actually started production before he passed away, but yeah. All right.
I'm sure he had a lot of great insights into most of those movies.
Yes. Scott, Upside Down and Inside Out.
This one was one of their better pictures 10 years ago. It still is very good. I try not, again, it's one of those films that, like, it was certainly felt more aspirational 10 years ago than it does today in terms of what its success led to. At the time, 10 years ago, it was, finally Pixar's making a movie that's about a young girl that isn't necessarily a princess movie that's going to be ripped away from its female director in the middle of production. This one at least didn't start with a female director, so whatever. That being said, it felt like, again, the idea that other viewpoints, other people's stories are worth telling on a blockbuster tentpole sized canvas. This was a film that, again, was not rooted in stereotypical action, violent fantasy elements. It's basically a character comedy, a drama kind of sort of with, not drama, but you know what I mean.
Dramedy?
Sure, why not?
For kids.
And this also kind of, in its own weird way, sort of solidified what would be the periodic Pixar formula, in which you have a completely over-the-top fantastical world that certain characters end up lost in and exploring. We can argue whether Finding Nemo qualified, but that was just the ocean. But films like this would lead to Soul and Coco and I'm not even counting Inside Out 2, but presumably this summer's Elio, which we'll know by the time this episode airs. Well, we'll be close, but we'll have seen it by then. I know, but you will. But in a vacuum, it works almost as well as it did 10 years ago because it's very specific. It's not trying to be this huge, massive scaled story. It's just one young girl dealing with a coming of age, emotional crisis. That's just as simple as she misses her friends and she misses her old life after her parents moved from one place to another place. It's nothing particularly extreme. And its success, was another sign that both Marvel and Pixar tend to do better when, at least with their originals, when they make films that are against what conventional wisdom says is commercial. Cars is where the money's at, but Ratatouille made $700 million. Boy-centric fairy tales are where it's at, but Onward bombed. Good Dinosaurs bombed. Cars 3 tanked. Did I just say Cars 3? Yeah.
No, but
the same year that Coco made $800 million.
The Cars merch is off the chain, though. I mean, you have to.
Yeah, and that's why you make those movies.
Its ancillary funds are doing amazing for that studio.
But in terms of raw theatrical return, I mean, again, it's there's a case to be made that if they had released Inside Out 2 before Lightyear, nobody would have gotten laid off in Pixar. But because conventional wisdom says that Chris Evans starring Lightyear Boy Adventure Story prequel was where the money was, and now here we are.
Fifth best Chris.
What was that?
Fifth best Chris.
Yeah.
I keep track.
If they had crashed Chris Walken, it would have made $1 billion.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Walken as Lightyear, as young Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I'm so spry.
Keep going.
Don't stop.
Little girl. Where's your mom?
Infinity and beyond.
Come on, I can't do Walken. You can do Walken. Go for
Zerg.
it. See, the best Chris.
These 5-second Walkens.
I mean, my other thing, only half joking, is that Chris Walken should have been in Megalopolis instead of John Voight, just because I want to hear him saying, what's her name?
Wow, platinum.
Wow, platinum. How about this Bona?
Would have swept the Oscars.
Feels like that's written for him, and then Francis is like, you know what? Cancel people. It's better.
Shia. Oof.
Man, the impressions crowd that listens to this on podcast are getting their money's worth.
Like, are they going Inside Out now? Like
Megalon. Are you still talking about the movie?
Yes. And what I did like about it is that yes, it's has an emotional moments. It's not, but it didn't feel as willfully rip out your heart and spit on it while you bleed to death in tears as some of the Pixar movies of that era. That's not a criticism because
that's not what I heard from the adults at this time that saw there's laughing.
Fucking big bug.
And again, it's a terrific moment, but it's
is it?
I didn't fall, again, I didn't collapse into a puddle of tears, nor did I, and even the big emotional climax where she just breaks down in her parents' arms and says, I'm very sad because XYZ. It's very relatable. It's very human. It's very small scale. And I think, the movie works as well as it does because it doesn't try to be the anything, if that makes sense. And it turned out to be the biggest grossing Pixar original, save for the re-released Finding Nemo. And it was a terrific film 10 years ago. And yes, I obviously I don't have the warm and fuzzies as I did when I thought it was, again, the future in a positive way. Like a lot of films we've talked about this fucking summer and we'll continue to talk about, Spy, Fury Road, et cetera, et cetera.
Part of it has to be because of how much you love the sequel, right? That's but it's lower.
Yes,
this one
exactly.
Because of your famous love for Inside Out 2.
Right.
You couldn't walk 2 steps without hearing Scott praise Inside Out 2.
He wouldn't shut up about it. Like you wake up in the morning, he's like, "You got time to talk about Inside Out 2 again?" Like, I don't know, Scott. Really want to talk about those hockey scenes? Okay.
Nobody cares about hockey.
Remember when she pissed off her friends at the locker room? Yeah, I felt bad. Oh, okay.
I felt so bad I was hiding under my seat and cringe. Which, okay, maybe is the point of the movie, but still, it's not fun to watch.
I remember when he got out of the theater, he was like, wow.
Wow. She took the puck away, scored her own goal.
Oh,
why would you do
terrible
that?
episode.
Why would you do that to your friend?
She seems to have interest in that purple-haired girl. No, she does not. And let's spend another 10 million making sure she does not. Because fuck the people that made us number one in the 2010s. They can all go to hell. Anyway, Inside Out still fucking rocks. I'm sorry the sequel sucked, and I'm sorry that Bob Iger's completely done a heel turn in terms of what made him lots and lots of money the last decade.
Yep, might as well take that plus off Disney Plus, right? Aaron.
Good God. Yes. What is your question, sir?
I think Scott just is bitter about Inside Out too, because somebody might have predicted it was the number one film, would have been the number one film of the summer of 2024. And
oh no, I remember having a conversation with Aaron with right after I submitted my stuff. I was like, shit, he's right.
He is. I should have noted my 2 trips to Disney since then and the lines to meet joy and sadness. And been
I haven't been to Disney in a long time.
That's why I'm like Lilo and Stitch, guys. I mean,
well, they're in Epcot. They put joy and sadness in Epcot, and then I knew Avatar wasn't a problem because I'd been to the Animal Kingdom twice and been like,
when I took
and been like, people go nuts over here for that shit. Like,
when my kids wanted a Banshee, I knew Avatar 2 would be fine.
And they got the little ears they can get and all that shit.
If I a little too much behind the scenes on the Out Now Summer Gamble, but like Dragon, Lilo, I don't like this could go either. I mean, this is some money to be made. Anyway,
it's a tough one this summer.
Yeah, Inside Out, the first movie, I was convinced that I was gonna have to like crawl out from the praise that Scott will be giving it because I'm not as enamored with the movie. I think you were more effusive about it years ago, perhaps, but now you seem so like you're saying it's terrific, but at the same time you don't sound like it.
Well, it's silly as this sounds. I don't want to say it hurts to watch because that's silly, but again, it's what it represented then versus like, well, that was nice. What was all that for?
All right, well, just as a movie,
it's a movie. I think it's excellent.
Yeah,
I like Inside Out. I just checked my Letterboxd Pixar ranked list. It's firmly in the middle. It's exactly in the middle of Pixar movies. When it comes to like the guys that direct over and over again for Pixar, I don't want to say I'm not a Pete Docter guy, but he's certainly like he's not one of my guys for that. Like a more like Andrew Stanton or Bird, like those guys, rise to the top for me. Where Docter, I seem to like be kind of like middle of the road when it comes to Up or this. I love Soul. Like if anything, I feel like this movie walks so Soul could run because it's basically another iteration of the same kind of story. That said, when you talk about how this movie kind of opened up this sort of door for other Pixar movies to do something similar, I'd argue this is just Toy Story again. It's just an iteration of that as far as the kind of movie it's doing. Where it's two opposite kinds of people that kind of get lost in their own adventure, have to explore a different world and come together. I've seen this. That's not to say it's impossible. Pixar knows what their formula is. That's why they're Pixar. They've done it very well. This movie, it's weird because like I like this movie plenty. Like it's very watchable. It's enjoyable. The cast is very good. It has a great score. Obviously, like it looks interesting. At least it's an original, which is nice. It's just I never connect. My main issue with Inside Out has always been I was excited about the idea of this movie because I wanted to see how the emotions would reflect on what's going on with Riley's life on the outside. And while it seems like everyone else is convinced that this is a one-to-one that makes sense to me, I don't see it. I've still never connected that together. I never look at the movie. There's no way where I can look at like Riley's story minus the emotions and feel like it makes sense to me compared to what the movie's trying to tell me. And I find that to be a weird structure issue. It just, the way she kind of goes through certain changes or whatnot, They don't just feel random in the sense of like, well, she's an adolescent girl and therefore things happen. It just feels more like it's very manufactured in a way that doesn't quite hit me in the way that I know the movie wants it to. On top of that, doing basic Pixar formula stuff just doesn't work for me with this one the same way it does in others, like the Bing Bong thing, where I know what that is. Therefore, it's not convincing me that I'm supposed to feel for it the way that I know it wants me to. And if that's cynical on my part, okay, but like 2 years later, Coco makes me cry every single fucking time at various points that aren't even the ones that I'd consider the saddest points of the movie. So like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's me. It doesn't feel like it's a weird, thing I have against this movie. It's just like, no, it just doesn't connect with me the way that other Pixar movies have. Again, it's at its best, it's very funny. I think it's a great cast. It's a great cast of people that you want to see Pixar cast in movies. Like, if you're going to tell me Amy Poehler and Phyllis Smith from The Office are going to be the leads of a Pixar movie, like, great. That's Ed Asner level, like, cool. That's a fun casting choice that you're not always going to see happen, and here we are doing it. I love that. Especially when in a movie that already has like Lewis Black and Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader, who are, I'm not going to say huge stars, but certainly on a higher level than like a Phyllis Smith is. But like, no, we're going to make her like the co-lead. I'm like, cool, that's great. I love that. Diane Lane and Kyle MacLachlan as parents. Awesome. Let's see that happen. Um, anything else?
Second Diane Lane movie this summer. So
second, yes, big Lane summer.
Big
Anything else is just to feel like I'm being more and more mean to Inside Out, but I do have weird plot logic issues with it as far as why it's so difficult for them to get back to where they need to get back to. It just seems like the movie's purposely making it difficult, which I guess the writing's not as tight to me as other Pixar movies are. I think that's like my main thing with it. Otherwise, perfectly fine. Like it does the job. It's very fun. Like I mean, it's nothing.
Gotcha.
It's nothing offensive about this movie. It's good.
Gotcha. I guess
I think if I were to re-rank them, whatever. Yeah, I think Soul, Coco, maybe even Turning Red. But I also hold those three along with this as sort of rebuttal to the whole Pixar slump nonsense that's been, mainstream since Cars 2 came out 14 years ago.
Sure, if I want to make those other kind of arguments as far as what Pixar represents or what they're doing right or what they're succeeding off of, that's a whole different subject matter, sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I guess I'm like higher on this one, but not as high on it as I was back in 2015 when I first saw it. Like, revisiting it, I was just like, the thing I like about the movie is how it's so simple and core, like it's just core elements of what can make this thing work. But I really got to credit Amy Poehler because I don't think Joy works without her. Like I can't think of another performer that could have pulled this off in the right way, where you like you like really like her, and while she can get on the side of annoying, you kind of get it in a personality way, not maybe like character logic way or something like that. And she has the voice, and knowing her to be able to like push that to like very like to very tough degrees that another person would have been like checked out and you don't even care if forgiveness in the end or their arc,
like Woody is similar in that sense.
Yeah, or something like that. So all the other voice actors very, very cool. It sucks they don't bring them back for the sequel, but money's money.
Disney doesn't have the money to spend.
Yep.
What do you think? They're just made of billions of dollars of Star Wars merchandise.
There's no Inside Out ride, so therefore there's no money, right? That's what happens. But it's very simple movie. It didn't hit me emotionally like it did the first time. Like it hit me in big spot. I was like, damn, this is a heavy movie. And going back to it, I was like, it's just fine. This is really good, but it's quite fine. But then going back to it too, like I don't get a chance to like rewatch these Pixar movies a billion times, and I was like, oh wow, that second movie really just kind of repeated shit again a lot. So I was like, man, like I wasn't that big on the second one. I had my problems with it as as its own movie, but then going back to this, I'm like, oh shit, they just went the whole we're gonna do the same thing again route, which is like we live in an era with all these sequels, but that used to be the route you took for a sequel. It used to be a commonality. We don't do it as often anymore. But that's kind of how they went. But no, this one's got some good iconography. I do like the kind of the adventure they take through this little land of the emotions and things like that. And of course, R.I.P. Bing Bong. Nice role for Richard Kind, of course. But he was their first choice and they got him. It's a big deal. Big deal. But I like the approach of using like a lot of like for the emotions, using a lot of improv actors and stuff like that. It's kind of
I hear Kind was up for Manglehorn, but he had to turn it down because he was going to voice Big Bong.
Nice keys. I don't know which car you got.
Hey,
what do you mean I was a bad father?
Hey, Bing Bong,
Yeah, what is this episode with the how did Inside Out do at the box office?
Very well.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it was. I think it's still okay. Whatever. Number one movie was not Inside Out.
Oh, rank matters. Rank matters. So
yes,
Inside
exactly.
Out is a bomb.
Oh, that's right.
Clearly.
Jurassic World's still out there doing nuts money.
Yep.
Jurassic World was number one again, dropping just 49%.
That's
for
great.
$107 million in its second weekend.
Was
that
it the 100 million losers club?
Weekend.
Was that
yes? Wait. Yes, barely.
Barely.
Okay.
And it was the biggest second weekend of all time. And it was, it was about as it was about as leggy as the Avengers, which I keep bringing up to people, that summer and beyond, like, people didn't like it. It was just the hype and nostalgia. It's like, no, that's legged out like a motherfucker all summer long.
It's weird that there's
million.
two opposing narratives where one is Jurassic World sucks even though it's making all this money.
Yep.
And also Avengers is doing poorly because look how much better Jurassic World is. It was like, what's the right answer here, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Which one are you latching on to?
The one I want.
Yeah, 2015 is the year entertainment media went insane. Anyway, 203 million in 10 days, which basically, anyway, whatever. It would, of course, leg out to 652, 1.6 and change worldwide. Inside Out 2 or $90 million in its first weekend, which I believe is still a record for the biggest not number one opening of all time.
Gotta be, right?
I can't think of anything that,
got almost $200 million out of two movies.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
People went to the movies.
And one was on its second weekend.
Fuck. It would eventually leg out to $356 million in North America and $858 million on a $175 million budget. But remember, movies about girls do not travel overseas. Spy, speaking of which, 11 million minus 28% in weekend 3, 75 million domestic. It would eventually leg out. And I know I'll stop doing holdover. I'm trying to make a point here. 110 domestic and 236 worldwide. Again, movies about women do not travel overseas. Let's see. Speaking of which, that's not good. San Andreas, starring The Rock, who technically is a black man, as far as I know. 8.7 million minus 19%, $133 million domestic. Would eventually made about 155 domestic. 110 in China, because China hates black people, remember, and 475 million worldwide on a 110 budget. Dope, 6.1 million in 2,000 screens, 3,000 per screen. It would leg out to 17.5 domestic and 18 worldwide on a 17 budget. Again, it's not a blowout, but A, they tried, B, it did make money in the long run. And let's see. You can edit this yawn if you want.
No, that's the sound the insidious ghosts make.
Yes, chapter 3, $4 million minus 44.4% in weekend 3, 45 million in 17 days. It's Perfect 2, 3.5 million minus 45%. Weekend 6, 177 million. It would top out about 188 domestic. Because again, movies about women are box office poison. Because men won't show up to them. And if only women show up to them, they won't make money. Cough, wicked. Mad Max Fury Road, $3 million, minus 25%. Weekend 6, $144 million. It would eventually leg out to 155 domestic, 375 worldwide. Avengers Age of Ultron, 2.8, minus 22. $449 million domestic. It would top out at 459 domestic, 1.4 billion worldwide, including 300 in China, which was a lot at the time. Still was a lot.
Yeah.
Tomorrowland, number 10, minus 36%, 2.2 million, 88 million domestic after 31 days in theaters. Anybody Can Dance. What the fuck is Anybody Can Dance, and why didn't we talk about it? Anybody Can Dance 2, whatever the fuck that is. $444,000 and 146 screens. Don't know, don't care. What else did we talk about this week?
Manglehorn.
Manglehorn.
Where is Manglehorn? $11,000 in 3 screens. It would eventually leg out to a whopping $143,000 and 459,000 worldwide.
Almost $1 million.
Did 3.5 minutes. All due respect, 2,238 at single screen. It would make $30,000 total.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, it's my son.
Obviously,
it's a friend. He makes that money.
He can make that joke. I can't. I wonder how much that the Paradise Lost made while also being an HBO movie in 1999. Sorry, I'm actually going to look that up right here.
I got shotgun.
It's good.
It is not on here. Okay, maybe it did not have a theatrical release. I don't know. That is the box office in a nutshell.
Okay, well, that'll do it for this week of June. So thank you guys, as always, for joining me with this. Until next time, where can people keep up with you, Scott?
I am a semi-regular contributor to Puck News. I write, run, and maintain the Outside Scoop for Substack, and I maintain a weekly podcast called The Box Office Podcast, where myself and 2 or 3 others, younger, cooler, more culturally relevant box office pundits and or film scholars, discuss the weekend that transpired at a theater near you.
And Aaron?
You can find everything I do at my personal Substack page, thecodezik.substack.com. I write movie reviews over at We Live Entertainment. I write Blu-ray and Criterion reviews over at Why So Blue. I co-host the podcasts Out Now with Aaron and Abe, where we talk about weekly movie releases, and 2 Black Guys Talk Godzilla, where Terrence Johnson and I go over the Godzilla films. If we're in June, that means we're probably in a Ghidorah era right now, where it's one of the movies featuring the 3-headed monster that is Ghidorah. So, check that show out. And I'm on all the socials at Aaron's PS4.
All right. And I am...
Who are you?
I'm Brandon, and I'm on the socials at Brandon4KUHD. Subscribe to the corresponding YouTube channel for this podcast, as always, for Blu-ray reviews and stuff like that. PopCon's coming up June 27th to 29th at the Indiana Convention Center in Indianapolis, Indiana. So, usual, I'm doing everything with podcasting, including hosting the live podcast stage and hosting the Podcast Awards. You can find more info on that at popcon.us. Next week, a marine dog and stuffed bear see us through Pablo Escobar losing paradise, causing a little chaos. All this and more as the summer of 2015 at 10 continues.
The summer of 2015 at 10.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.